Ajit Doval, India's national security advisor, has landed in Moscow to navigate one of the most critical diplomatic crises India has faced in over a decade, as India navigates US President Donald Trump's recent threats to impose 25% tariffs on Indian goods over India's continued purchases of Russian oil and defense equipment. Trump's aggressive stance, labeling India's trade with Russia as profiting from the Ukraine conflict, has heightened tensions, prompting India to deploy Doval, its most strategic thinker, to reinforce ties with Moscow. Doval, known for his sharp geopolitical acumen, has a history of engaging with Russia during sensitive periods, notably facilitating back-channel talks during the Russia-Ukraine conflict in 2022-23. His rapport with President Putin, built through years of high-level dialogues, positions him as a trusted interlocutor to advance India's interests while countering US pressure. This visit underscores India's commitment to strategic autonomy, balancing its multi-alignment policy amid a volatile global landscape. Doval's agenda likely centered on deepening defense cooperation, a step beyond the already acquired S-400, to bolster India's defenses against regional threats from China and Pakistan. Discussions may have also explored acquiring Russia's Su-57 stealth fighter jets, which would enhance India's air superiority and complement its indigenous AMCA program. These deals are crucial not only for military modernization, but also as a signal to Washington that India will not bow to tariff threats or reduce its reliance on Russian arms. Beyond hardware, Doval likely pushed for joint production and technology transfers, aligning with India's self-reliance goals while leveraging Russia's willingness to share sensitive technologies, unlike Western partners. Energy security was another focal point, with India sourcing 35% of its crude oil, 1.75 million barrels per day, from Russia. Facing US sanctions risks, Doval likely negotiated deeper discounts on Russian oil to offset potential economic fallout from tariffs. Alternate payment mechanisms, such as rupee-ruble trade or digital currencies, were probably discussed to bypass SWIFT restrictions and ensure uninterrupted supplies. India's role in refining Russian crude into diesel and jet fuel for re-export to Europe was likely highlighted as a mutual benefit, stabilizing global energy markets and countering US accusations of opportunism. This strategy reinforces India's energy security while positioning it as a pragmatic player in global trade. Countering Trump's tariff threats required a broader economic strategy. Doval likely explored diversifying India's trade with Russia and BRICS nations to mitigate losses in the US market, focusing on sectors like pharmaceuticals, textiles, and IT services. Aligning with BRICS partners to resist US economic coercion was probably on the table, with India advocating for a unified stance against unilateral tariffs. Diplomatically, the visit signals to Washington that India will not abandon its strategic partnership with Russia, preserving flexibility in its relations with both the US and China in the Indo-Pacific. The mainstream narrative frames India's actions as defiance, but this oversimplifies its pragmatic motives. India's oil and defense deals are driven by national interests, securing affordable energy and countering regional threats, not ideological alignment with Russia. Doval's visit counters Western hypocrisy, as nations like the US continue trade with Russia in sectors like uranium. By strengthening ties with Moscow, India asserts its sovereign right to prioritize security and economic stability, positioning itself as a bridge between the global south and major powers in a multipolar world.